Don't say anything to get canceled.
Not in the first 10 seconds. Go.
All right. All right. Is this episode 6? It
Oh, wow.
is. Episode 6. That's crazy, man.
We're already there.
Go tools. All right, we're just getting started here. Welcome in, welcome in. Let me go through the sheet here and see everything we have again. Okay.
I should be good to go in about 2 minutes myself. Are you looking at the stuff again?
Yeah, the quit lying post got me.
Oh, that's going to be a fun one.
Oh, you kind of have two that are the same thing, by the way.
Oh, go ahead and knock it out. Delete it then.
So you have this first one right below the slavery, the Reddit post, and then like you do. Where's it at? I scrolled past it. Where's it at? Oh, and then you did the BG3 remove the early access burnout theory.
Oops, wrong stream title.
Uh-oh. So I think we just tie these in together. Okay. When we get to that, I'll just tie in the other one because they go hand in hand.
All right. I think I'm good to go. Let's get the cam going. I'll get the link posted in Discord as we're talking.
All right.
All right. Sorry for the late start. Everybody, welcome to another episode of the Voices of Verra Ashes of Creation live stream. Really appreciate you guys being here. Sorry for all of you that joined. I had the old stream title from the other day. I am here with Is There No One Else? Like I said, this is episode 6, Voices of Verra. Welcome on in to our Ashes of Creation podcast, where we talk with you, the community, go over discussions, forum posts, topics, and debates, and everything like that, while we sit in Ashes of Creation waiting room. Be sure to subscribe to Is There No One Else? I have him tagged in the title. I appreciate you guys going here as we talk about this game that we can't play right now. So
Oh,
appreciate you
it's not
guys
out
being
yet?
here.
It's not out
It's
yet?
not out.
Oh.
Although there's a rumor that they're just going to release it next month with no heads up.
Okay. Well, I'm okay with it.
I'll try to get over that too. So here I'm just getting a link posted in Discord, and if you want to go ahead and talk about the news or the date adjustment, even though they never really confirmed the other one, but yeah.
Sure. So we just got it, I think it was just a few days ago. an update that the node preview will be live on August 31st, 1 p.m. Central, 11 a.m. Pacific time. So official date for the node reveal. And like we talked about last week and like we talked about the week before, this is probably the biggest reveal that they will have out of all of their systems, because the node system is what's going to kind of drive everything else. Like I am very excited about all the different archetypes. I'm excited for the augments and all that as it pertains to combat. But the node system itself is the big system. So it's going to be exciting to see. There was already a question that was brought up. I don't know if you saw it in your Discord, Nice, but people are like, wow. I saw the comment that they push it to the last day of August, so they must really be trying to get everything in a row towards the end here. So,
yes, this is gonna be different because usually they do it on the last Friday of the month. This one was kind of unlucky because it gave them the most minimal time, I think, to prepare. Like, I think I'll have to go look at a calendar, but I think after the stream there would have still been like 4 or 5 more days left in the month, or it was something like that.
Sure.
So I could kind of see why they switched things up for this one to give them, like, really optimize that time that we had left. So
yeah,
that's really cool. It's just another one of those things that makes me more and more excited and actually raises my expectations even more for this showcase, which I think they would meet those expectations. Which I don't have nothing outlandish, but I really think them pushing it back show that they're really taking their time, really taking it serious as far as getting things right and making sure they double checked everything. Everything looks very good, that they don't really miss too much details. Like we've spoken about, on previous episodes. I think they're gonna have like a slideshow like they did with the Freehold. I'd expect an even longer one because there's a lot of things that we haven't seen. And so, just random tangent here. I think the military node and the economic node, we know the like metropolis benefit, where so economic nodes, just random thing. When that's at the metropolis stage, if I remember correctly, the benefit of an economic node is any like trader, if you will, because trading is localized. There's no like just go one place and then it's there. With an economic node, that node, what's being sold in that node, and all the vassal nodes in that network, it's just one-stop shop, and that's the advantage of an economic node.
Oh, interesting.
So we know that one. The scientific node is going to be really cool because fast travel is one of those things that's limited in this game, which is something I'm going to love. I'm sure once I start playing, I'm like, God dang it, I got to mount all the way over here, But I like that it adds that difficulty, or that it increases that chance of running into other players open world. It makes the game feel more connected, because often I found in games that too much fast travel could be a bad thing. And then there's games like New World that made me think like, oh my gosh, like I'm not seeing anybody, even though there's not fast travels. Well, there is fast travel, but it's just not as good.
Yep.
But the scientific node, you're going to be able to fast travel within I'm pretty sure it's the node and the vassal nodes as well. Military node, somebody in chat corrected me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've seen the benefit of a military node. If I had to take a shot in the dark, else if you want to as well, I would imagine that sieging a military node would be tougher, or during a siege battle, maybe those players are strengthened, like they get 10% more max health than usual, or their siege weapons deal X amount more damage. Maybe when you siege a node, you have to capture key points in that node and hold those for a certain amount of times. Maybe maybe capturing and securing those objectives, like you got to stay on that flag longer. I don't know. I'm just throwing shots in the dark. What would you think the benefits of a military node would be?
All right. So my predictions are going to be, we're going to get some sort of flat bonus, like you said, like either some form of like mitigation or healing or experience, like just some combat prowess buff available only to nodes. And then I could also see an XP boost for all artisan trees that are in the combat tree. So armor, weapons, those sorts of things. So it maybe if you're in a military node and you're trying to level your, archery or your bows, you get increased experience bonus while being in a military node, since it's a military node. I'm expecting something along those lines. So something for combat and something for the other, the more artisan based fields. So
I like that. You made me think about something when you said XP boost. Maybe more PvP XP, like if you kill someone, in a objective base, like it's a caravan inside
yeah,
that zone of influence. Maybe you get more XP towards the node for those kills. Also, guards. Maybe the guards are tougher because there will be NPC guards. Maybe military nodes have like some really tough, like maybe not like an elite mob level, but like I imagine really, really tough NPC guards.
sure.
I could see that being a thing. Or
More
there's a
siege.
thing, yes, or yeah, more siege options, siege strength, or I'm pretty sure I read something about caravans and that you can have NPC escorts, as well as player escorts, but you can have NPC escorts too. Like I don't know if you got to purchase it or what. I can't remember at the moment, but maybe if you're starting a caravan from a military node, those siege escorts are going to be really built, like really stacked, like large hit points. They got more skills. They, are better at protecting the player's caravan. I think that could be an interesting direction,
For sure.
as well. I'm going to get our next topic pulled up here. What do we want to jump into? And by the way, welcome on in, everybody. Appreciate you guys being here. Nepti, how you doing? Souls, Kruger, Elemento, TK, HD, Notification Gang. Thank you guys so much for being here. Nepti, I saw your message, dude. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
That's really kind of you.
Yeah, nice sent it to me too. We really appreciate that. That's pretty cool. So
yeah, appreciate the support. Let's see here. So actually, let's get into some things that happened on the forum since last stream. You want to talk about the mount thing?
sure. Okay. So as you guys know, I'm just pulling it up the forum post. So last week our podcast revolved around nicest post, what people liked and disliked about Ashes of Creation. We got a lot of good comments in there. Really appreciate all the feedback, guys. Like we got a lot of fun things to talk about, and that's the main thing about this podcast as a whole is just us talking and communicating and talking about a game that doesn't exist yet. And so all that happened, and sometimes with good conversation comes bad conversation or interesting conversation. And we got a comment from a guy, and it started off safe enough. And this guy goes on and says, Royal Mount Tier 3 mount system is by far the worst idea I've ever seen in a game with respect to mounts. I'd rather get 3 Tier 10 mythical horses in BDO than enslave an entire load of people just to get myself a Tier 3 mount. This type of inhumane idea could only have come from the type of person who thinks wageless slavery of players en masse to gain a single player the ability to ride Tier 3 mounts is a good thing, when it is very obviously awful game design and disrespectful to the entire player base. I like animal husbandry. The wiki page makes it seem fun. Tier 3 mounts should be related entirely to animal husbandry abilities and have nothing to do with kings, losers, queens, slavers, mayors. So this guy is basically stating that if you're a mayor of a town, you were a slave owner. And stupid opinions on this topic, presumably made by people who don't respect their players enough to not have them become in-game slavers for their personal benefits for the 1%. He goes, I understand this is a controversial opinion and it may seem rude to point out the obvious, but I believe the idea that we should be forced to engage in in-game slavery to acquire personal benefits for ourselves is incredibly disrespectful to every player. So I read this in the morning. Nice and I are kind of, you guys don't know this, but Nice and I are kind of in the same boat family-wise. Like I wake up, make breakfast for the kids, have a cup of coffee, and I sit down, and that's the first thing I read, and I was just like, what the fuck is this? Like, where is this coming from? So I'm reading it, this guy's like, and so we don't have to go through everything, but he's wrong. And yeah, he's basically from how I perceived it, this guy wants an in-game tier 3 mount really badly. And he said he read the wiki, and basically the only way you can get it is through being a mayor. But if you read I'll pull this up also. I pulled this from the wiki itself, but if you go to royal mounts on the wiki, what it says on the third line down is flight capable royal mounts are also dropped from world bosses as eggs. These mounts will have a lifespan of likely between 15 to 30 days, online and offline time, after which the mounts will pass away. And so his entire point of view revolved around this idea that only mayors and kings and queens and owners of these big cities could get these things. But if he just read one more line in the wiki, not even a full paragraph, he would have saw that you could just farm them or purchase them off of a guild house. So what were your thoughts, Nice?
I was caught off guard not once. It wasn't even like on my radar that me making a post about, hey, what do you like about Ashes of Creation? What is your potential dislike? Not it was I can't even explain how mind blown I was that the topic of slavery or the comparison to slavery was even made. Like that's quite a stretch. To state that being a mayor or whatever is just enslaving people, like I think that term's being thrown way too loose here. Like it's being used way too loosely here. Like, does it have any meaning? It reminds me of like I hate to use this term, but when people don't get their way, you see in all the public freak out videos, like the
Yeah.
Karens. I use that in quotes.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I can't get my hair cut. This is Nazi Germany. Like, it's like people are just throwing out these hyperbolic terms like nothing. Like, it's just like, oh, can't get my mount. Slavery. I just is blasphemous. How dare I can't do this? I can't. How could you? Like, it's the worst system ever. What? What?
Re
Like,
Rereading it, I agree with you, but rereading it now, I just realized like he hinted at it in the first couple of paragraphs, and I think he worked himself up to a point towards the end. He's like, yeah, this is in-game slavery, which is exactly what you're saying. Like he just went straight to it, and I'm sorry, but the last time I checked, we were asked to have a discussion about slavery on this podcast, guys. That's where we're bringing this up. So correct me if I'm wrong, Nice, but I don't think slaves ever had a chance to choose their own node. So I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Ashes of Creation back in the day, like you could choose your own node, or you couldn't choose your own node. I don't know. I was blown away by this. So
and it's so funny. You'll see at the end, if you guys go find that forum post, you'll see at the end I'm like trying to console the guy. I kind of feel bad because I could tell he must have a lot of stuff going on in his life if that's what he's equating the mount system to or whatever. I'm like, dude, are you okay? Like, I will work my hardest to try to get that guy a tier 3 mount.
yeah,
Like,
well,
I don't want him to have a negative player experience. Like, if that's really hurting him, like, and that brings me to the topic of like maybe it's time for you to take a break from following open development if you're looking at the mount system and you're like, slavery. Like, well, I'm sorry. Well, this conversation just escalated out of nowhere. Like, what?
yeah, it was a fun one to read, and yeah, it was one of those things like Nice and I both saw it. We're like, I think we have to bring this up on the podcast because like this is just out of nowhere. So, and yeah, like the big thing about the royal mounts too is they're by design supposed to be rare. Like they've said, if you go and read the wiki, the whole wiki, there's multiple quotes in there where Steven basically says like a lot of the royal mounts will bypass a lot of mechanics, and so they don't want people riding mounts all over the place anywhere and everywhere. So there's only like going to be 10 to 20 flying around in existence at any point in time, and so it's supposed to be really rare. It's like all of us in this chat, none of us may ever get one. Like that's just the way how rare they are.
Squatch in chat says, I love that only a few people will have flying mounts. Flying is way overpowered, and for everyone to have it would kill the game because of fast travel. Yes.
Yeah,
it needs
exactly.
to feel special. Like, and I've said this before, I'm sure there's times where I'm just gonna be like, oh man, I would like one of those right now, but that just makes it seem so much cooler. Like, people call it like an obsession or whatever, but to me it's just like that's what gives things value. When everyone has something in the game, it's no longer cool. Like, I mean, there's some things in life that you probably can't equate to that, right? Like, I want everyone to have like a great meal. I don't want no one to be starving. I want everyone to have a beautiful home. But there's certain things like, well, if everyone had it, who cares? Like, if gold was a common rock that I can go pick up off the ground, if gold was everywhere, do you think gold would be like have value to it?
Absolutely not.
No, it's because you can't find gold just like that. That's what gives it its value, in my opinion. So I like that Ashes is putting that back into games because gaming just doesn't do that anymore. Everyone gets everything, or you have the option of buying it from some sort of cash shop. And to me, that's not that's not the direction to go. I know one day at some point I'm gonna get me a flying mount. I don't know how, but maybe it'll happen for me one day. And when it happens, I want to be live. I want to be live streaming for you guys. I want y'all to see the
Just
smile on
flying.
my face. Just fly. No missions, no question, not using it for any specific benefit. I'm just going to start a stream if I somehow acquire one. And it's just going to be like, here's me flying. Even if it's like outdated, like people already posted flying clips, even if we're like 2 years into Ashes of Creation. Oh, oh yeah, you already seen this? Oh, well, here's me flying. Look how happy I am. Like, this is so cool, guys.
Yeah, well, and
Oh.
you kind of touched on something he said also, where he was like, "Well, what's the point in engaging in animal husbandry if I don't get the top tier mount for what he's trying to get?" And the thing
Mm-hmm.
is like this isn't being. You don't have to be a mayor of a node in order to get a tier 3 mount. You can farm for it and may RNGesus bless you, or because they've made all of these different artisan crafting uh, what's the word for it? All these different specifications that you could do because they're so rare. If you
Mm-hmm.
do get to endgame, you will be incredibly valued in whatever community you're in, and you will probably generate a ton of money to where you can go and buy one of these things. So if your goal is to get one of these tier 3 eggs, you can RNG it, become a mayor, or get rich and buy it. There's multiple different ways to go about getting these things. It's not just, oh, in-game slavery, which yeah.
Quite a stretch.
Just
Yeah.
a little bit.
I'm gonna jump to a random topic. I saw this from Lineker on the forums today. It's like towards the bottom of our conversation.
Sure.
Concerning the weapon list. Um, Here, let's see. Let me get that pulled up for you guys. There we go. So this one, it kind of sparked a conversation or sparked some thoughts in my mind, and this is something that hey, welcome on in, Jeff. Welcome on in, Panda. Um, this is one I thought was interesting because we have yet to see Ashes give us like a full list of like what weapons that we can expect in game. I think in the Cyclops World Boss stream, we saw towards the end of the stream, well, we saw them all stream, but towards the end of the stream, they spoke on the what were they called? Chat focuses, those offhand weapons. It can be like a spell book. It can be like a skull. You know, like one of those little magical vessels. And so it had me thinking like, what weapons are we gonna see? Like, what's gonna be the full weapon list? And Lineker here asks, can we get an updated full list of weapon groups with unique skill trees that are planned for Ashes Creation? So what he's saying is like he doesn't need a list of every kind of focus because like within the focus you can probably have like stuff like a certain kind of spell book, like I was just saying, or like a certain thing to channel, but or maybe great swords and maul slash maces are one category. They're the two-handed weapon category, right? So yes, they're different kinds of weapons. Maybe they have different benefits, but they got the same weapon skill tree. He
Sure.
just wants like what weapon skill trees, like what are the different kind of weapons with their own unique things that we can expect to see. um I can't think of off the top of my head what we do know right now, but I know like obviously we've seen wands, we've seen that used in the cleric showcase and obviously the mage showcase. We've seen a great-handed two-handed sword, sword and shield obviously with the tank. We've seen dual wield done in the fighter showcase, which brings me to another point. Well, if I go over that point, I'm really going to go on a tangent. But I was also wondering how dual wield works. Is it like the Elden Ring style where you equip one weapon, then it puts a weapon in two hands, or can you mix and match? I remember that being answered during one stream, but I don't remember how that works. Anyways, but like, what weapon have you not seen maybe that you want to see, or what do you think their direction's going to be?
That's a good question. I kind of expect their weapon um, array, their arsenal of weapons to be pretty vast. Like I expect them to, just because of the detail that they've gone into everything else, and this being, the like them wanting to focus around combat, I expect the weapon and skill layouts to be quite vast. So I'm expecting to see spears, um, maces, mauls, stuff like that, of course. And then I'm curious if we're going to see things like crossbows. No, just kidding. Um, yeah. sorry. I had to, for those that know.
Too soon.
For
Too
for
soon.
those for
Too
those
soon.
that know, I had to. But yeah, I think we're going to see staffs. Like I think we're going to see an array, and I think it'll be interesting to see how they, like you said, with the focuses, how are those focuses going to apply to different weapons, like what they're going to augment, what they're going to amplify. Like will some amplify healing, will they amplify damage, crit values, these sorts of things.
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting to see, because yeah, like I was just having this conversation on one of my videos, but we're so early to the game that combat isn't even close to being fleshed out yet. We're just excited to see stuff because we're seeing the introductory stages of what end game content will eventually look like, and yeah, we don't even have weapons yet, and so that's gonna be a big one. That could be, honestly, probably its own reveal if they wanted to. So
Yeah. Yeah. Going through, we talked about that before, like wanting to see how those weapon trees really, you know, how they really separate and diversify themselves from each other. I'd personally like to see a spear and shield combo.
yeah,
I don't think we've seen. What did the cleric have in the day and night cycle? I could have sworn he had a spear. What did he have, you guys? I probably had some footage of it playing here in
day
the
and night
background from
cycle.
the day and night
I thought
cycle.
it was sword and shield.
Was it sword and shield?
I thought it was, but I could be wrong. I could be mixing up my cleric things.
Because now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder if he did have sword and shield. Oh, it was mace. Jeff says
Yeah,
it was mace.
mason shield. Yeah.
Shield. Okay. Yeah, spear and shield would be really cool. I'm trying to think. Else, do you want to see a musket like in New World or?
I still have a little bit of trauma from the original New World musket, so I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. Okay. Maybe we don't request that one this month. Okay. Someone says I want fist weapons. Nice. At least maybe as a skin for daggers. Okay. Okay. I can see that. I wonder what
That'd be cool.
combinations we can get with shield. Yeah, like to make an ESO reference, like when you did one-handed shield, it really didn't matter what your one-handed weapon was. You could choose like a one-handed dagger, one-handed sword, one-handed mace. And I wonder what your offhand weapon while wielding a shield will like if that would matter and what kind of different one-handed weapons can go there. And before anyone asks, no, they're not doing double shields. um Yeah, I thought that was just a. I'm curious. I'm really wondering when we're gonna take a look at the weapon skill tree, but I think we're far out because I wonder if they're gonna actually have to do that or incorporate that into the same stream that they do the augments in and everything. So
Oh sure.
I'm curious about that. So this next one is actually right next to it. This is a topic that I personally want to talk about. And you guys in chat give me your opinion. I'll obviously provide mine, and else will provide his. But I wanted to discuss vertical versus horizontal progression and keeping old content relevant. So this is one that, as you hear me talk, you're gonna realize that I'm pretty split on this, even myself. Like I'm leaning towards one side, leaning towards the other. So like horizontal progression is more so like level scaling. Like basically you can do your content and there's pros and cons of each, but you can do your content almost in any order. Every zone is pretty much the same. Like it scales with you. That's like a rough version of horizontal progression, but essentially that's like a basis of it for this conversation. And then you have games with vertical progression where you will typically out level the content where you do a certain zone. After you get past a certain level, you're probably never revisiting that zone or that area, especially if that node never got leveled, right? In the case of Ashes of Creation. So, what are you guys' thoughts? And I want to get a lot of thoughts from chat. Like, how do you feel about level scaling, and then I want to further elaborate on that with difficulty. So for this month's stream, my question was a summary of my question was like how to keep like dungeons difficult. Like, will we ever get to a point where a dungeon like like even a beginner dungeon, like is that content never going to be relevant for me again? Or is there a way to activate a hard mode, or is there like a certain scroll I can do to activate or make this monster, this end game boss or this dungeon boss more difficult? We know that monsters will increase in difficulty based on players at proximity. If there's like a lot of people in that dungeon really close to the boss, it's going to get new skill sets. But could we see a monster getting more defenses when a lot of players are around? That's the kind of stuff I would like to see to prevent like literally spawn camping the boss. As soon as he comes up, you see him get burned in like 20 seconds. I would like to see difficulty added, especially based on player proximity. They've implemented the boss to have certain skills, like more AoEs and stuff like that, to make it difficulty. But I would really like the mechanics and the dungeons to always stay relevant. I'm a fan of keeping content relevant. But I also like vertical progression, give you something to go to. So I'm kind of split. But I one thing I am like for sure on is that I want dungeons to always retain relevancy. So yeah, you guys let me know what you think about that.
So,
L, yeah, go ahead.
so Nalanka over here says both. You need diagonal progression. Make something in the
Ooh.
starter zones relevant for endgame. Which I thought, yeah, I can get behind that. What were you gonna
I
say?
can get
Sorry.
behind that. Oh no, I was just gonna pretty much ask you your thoughts of like keeping content relevant or what kind of progression system that you like, pretty much.
Sure. Um, it's tough, man, because like you know, let's be clear. Neither Nice or I are game developers, and so we're trying to put ourselves in the shoes of game developers, and we've all been there where we've played games, and with just straight vertical progression, a lot of the game just becomes too easy to complete content for, and it becomes uninteresting and rather boring, and it's not enjoy like we've talked about in the past, but like overland questing in ESO has been so boring because of the levels that we're at, because
Yes.
you just burn through everything. But they did that for the player base, because not everybody is a veteran player that's been playing the game for 7 years. There's so many new players coming in, and they want to make sure that the new players can complete this content and that they have stuff for new players as well. And so I definitely see it as a being able to thread the needle between having both, like the idea of having both for players is good, and having as much of your content being not renewable, not repeatable, like having your
Yeah.
content being constantly able to be repeatable and fun and engaging is a way to keep people coming back to play your game. Like uh yeah,
Just keeping things relevant.
yeah, keeping things interesting and relevant. Because if you if you just do straight vertical progression, the issue that we've encountered is gear becomes obsolete, the area becomes obsolete, the dungeons or content becomes obsolete and boring. It doesn't become fun to do anymore. And now you've spent a year, 6 months, whatever, developing this area, and it has a shelf life of what, maybe a year before the next one comes out, and then they're onto
Yeah.
that one, and you have all this stuff for a game, but nobody's playing that aspect of the game anymore. And yeah, I think if I were a developer, I'd want to have both. I'd want to have areas where, yes, there's some stuff where it's just, this is just noob friendly area, and like this is what you're gonna get, and what you were talking about with dungeons and everything. They did mention. I mean, this is 3 years ago, and I'm excited to see what they have now after 3 years. But Stephen Sharif was talking to Asmongold about it, and he basically said, like, if your group is really good, you will automatically get tiered into harder levels of dungeons for different types of content, and it won't, like, some mechanics will prevent just straight burn boss mechanics and stuff like that. And so
Yes.
it's cool because they already have that in mind, but I haven't seen anything since where they've talked about it, and
Yeah.
so seeing that stuff would be very, very interesting.
Yeah, I remember like yeah, Steven said something like Like, say there's 4 bosses in a dungeon, and your squad, they notice that the first 3 bosses done got burned in like less than a minute, and your squad is just pushing through. That's gonna like determine the difficulty or the skill set of that last boss. Yeah, so that's something they have definitely kept in mind. I hope they do. And I know everyone doesn't want like Dark Souls difficulty, but I hope there's some sort of difficulty. And in terms of making content renewable, little things, and like that's why I use the scroll example from Elder Scrolls Online. You read this scroll before the boss fight, it makes it harder, but you get more loot. Um, if there was a way, like even if it was something like now this is not me saying I need this in Ashes or I want this in Ashes, but these are the kind of thoughts that go through my head when I think about keeping content relevant. um this certain mob type, it only drops a certain loot at nighttime, but at nighttime it's more vicious, just little things like that, so that a completely different area of the game is not relevant. And someone in chat said something to what I'm similarly about to say, but let me read what they said first. They said, Jeff says, I like horizontal progression at endgame because it gives customization.
Yes.
um that is true. Like, so, and Els kind of touched on this just now. I think once you're at endgame, once you've kind of done it all, when someone asks you like, "Hey, is there a lot of stuff to do?" Like, if there's limited activities or limited challenging activities at endgame, what you will find is that the true amount of content in the game is not too relevant to you because you've already out leveled that content. That difficulty is no longer relevant to your character. You no longer have a challenge. So yes, you're at endgame. You've done those dungeons already, but they have no repeatability because maybe you're only locked into, maybe trials is the only thing that's going to give you a challenge, maybe a couple of world bosses, and of course the PvP and PvX. That's going to be your activities to do. But I mean, wouldn't it be nice if you can revisit that other dungeon sometime? I don't know, but yeah, that's just a thought of what do you guys think as far as keeping content relevant, or if it doesn't need to be, or if you're just more so on the vertical side of things when it comes to progression. Bills,
Geo,
welcome on in.
I got a comment here from Geolis. He says, I thought as the node levels up, the mobs in the area go up. So zones should have a mix of mob levels. Yeah. No, that's true.
Yes.
And that is also a good aspect. It's just it's an interesting, I think it's an interesting topic to have, and probably something we could spend an hour talking about, because you do want to tread the line. And so it's once again, just talking about what ESO does, we see it all the time where they'll come out with a new trial and new dungeons and stuff, and then a few patches later they'll release sets for specifically that trial, like 10% less damage mitigation if a certain boss is throwing fireballs, like stuff like that, to specifically make that content easier. And they're just trying to get more people to be able to complete that content. And so I respect it, that aspect of it, because yeah, you want more people playing and enjoying different aspects of the game. But then at the same time, when you come out with a new dungeon later and then you do it all over again, yeah, you like these top tier players just don't have much repeatability for the stuff that they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And so that's the issue, like what Rob said, with end game progression, is it should be horizontal. Like, you should figure out what your cap is, and everything should be just different augments, capabilities around different types of fights, but at the same level, so you don't lose that competitiveness for the end game level, and then that keeps the replayability valuable. So I see both. I really do see both. I see the need for both, but yeah, it's coming out with new content and instantly it being obsolete in a year doesn't seem great. And that's my opinion.
It was, so two things. First thing, Jew, I like your comment in chat. We're gonna go over that. We'll actually throw that discussion into here. But while we're kind of relevant, I got another topic that I want to bring up to you guys that's kind of relevant to where we just came with that conversation. So what I would like to talk to you guys about is how do I want to word this? Well, I guess I'll just word it how I wrote it here. Conflicts of interest and development of nodes. Now, what I mean by this is when a node develops in a certain area, as you advance that node, you're gonna attract new foes. You're gonna unlock new dungeons, new the NPCs in the area are going to be more difficult, right? Different servers are going to have virtually, and I use this term loosely, virtually a different game. No
Yes.
two servers are going to have the same story. One server that developed their scientific node next to the coast may unlock a certain world boss out in the ocean that kind of roams their docks, or some sort of water dragon. I don't know. Something spawns over there that this other server is not going to get. Now, what if you see that on another server, and this is something loosely that we've talked about before? What if we see on another server that, hey guys, I know we made it all the way to, we're a month in. I know we're already to the metropolis state, but yeah, so that server has the best in slot tank shield. Like it has a 25% chance of reflecting spells once every 5 seconds. I need that shield for my tank. Problem is, this economic node that we have in the south, yeah, that can't be there. We're gonna need that node moved a couple of notches down to the to the north, or whatever the case may be. How do we go about that? Well, we're gonna have to siege that node, right? Well, some people will look at it as, and this is what Steven wants. He spoke about this, I think, in Nodes 1. Was it Nodes 1 or Nodes 2? I think it was in Nodes 2 video. He talked about these conflicts of interest and being locked out of content, how that's going to constantly keep the game fresh and drive new political strifes, if you will. Like, well, I want to unlock that dungeon. I want to see this story arc. You're preventing it by having your node here. So me and my guild are going to lay siege to that. And we need that gone.
Yep.
And when this, we need to start this next camp, this next village, this next town stage needs to be over here. So that way, because we know from what the other server did, that when we get this to a metropolis stage, that mountain right there, a cave is going to unlock. And inside that cave is this new boss that we have yet to see on our server. And I want that gear that's in there. You existent is locking me out of content. We're going to get some responses from chat. Els, what are just your general thoughts on, the conflicting interest of the node system and the conflict it could bring?
So, you teed this up for me. I got to sit up here. This is the most exciting thing for me about this game. Like obviously I'm mostly a PvPer. I really like PvP, but the thing with PvP is replayability. Like how do you drive replayability? What you're talking about is going to drive so much replayability in this game. And everybody, like, we're so used to the point A to point B to point C theme park style MMOs. The thought of like what a sandbox MMO and what it truly can be is just something that we're just not used to. And you're absolutely right, because you're going to have these node systems where, yeah, you're going to have, like, there's going to be different types of guilds controlling different things. Like everybody thinks that the PvP guilds are going to control a server, but you can have militaristic nodes, you can have economic nodes, you can have people just, they have so much gold, they're just buying everybody off. And they have, like, yeah, I'm going to buy the best PvPers, and now they work for me, and we're going to do this, this, and this. And yeah, you're going to have all these different things. You're going to have different types of conflict because you have different interactions with different people in different areas. And yeah, it's going to drive things. And you're going to have end game players where they're going to see gear drops in certain areas, and they're going to be like, I need that for my rogue, I need this for my tank, I need this, we need to get this. And they're gonna push towards doing that for no other reason other than they want their character to be better, which is a pretty damn good reason to do anything in an MMO. So yes. so you have all these different things coming together. And then you have, on the other end, you have the people that have been working in this node, and they're leveling up, and they're at level 5 or level 4 or whatever, and they're moving on to the next one. Well, they want to keep their node because they want to keep progressing in what they're progressing in. And if somebody comes and destroys it, they lose their freehold, they lose their house in that area. And now they feel incentivized to try to defend it. And so you're going to paint those guys that are attacking you as the bad people. And yes, it's just, you're just going to have these sorts of interactions in it. And yes, it's going to be awesome, because not only will they be releasing, different types of content and stuff, but there will also be all of this player-driven content. around these sorts of things. So yeah, it's by far the thing I'm most excited about in this game.
Dude, I love what you said there. We're not just going to. So let's paint this scenario where we need zone X, node X gone so we can unlock this other content or unlock this amazing story arc that we heard about, right? We're not just sieging a node so we can just, let's just go over there and clear that out. No, these are people's homes. These players have a interest, investment, a stake in this node, so they're gonna siege it. We're not just getting rid of some, and we're not attacking some NPC. We're literally talking about people's, use this loosely, livelihood.
In-game
Their
livelihood.
freehold, yeah, their in-game livelihood, their freeholds is attached to this. Even the vassal nodes associated with this metropolis node that we would want to knock down, you know, whatever mayor's involved, there's just so much with that, and that's why you're going to see a lot of end-game drama, a lot of end-game politics. And here's another thing to think about: not only the people, that the citizens of the node that you want to siege. How about this? How about what you're going to lose for sieging that node? Now let's think about it like this: say, you know, you're in some random node out east. You belong to a military node, whatever. What if that node that's locking us out of that content, what if that's the one religious node or one divine node on the server? Huh? Maybe you need a divine node on that server. If you take out that node, you lose benefit X. And so now you're going to lose something yourself because you no longer have that benefit. And so is everyone else.
Yep.
So there's going to be so much opportunity cost, so much risk versus reward, which we're a huge fan of here. And there's just going to be so much that is just intertwined. You're going to start to see more and more how these systems are intertwined, and it's just, I just look forward to this. I think it's going to be amazing. We could talk on and on, like, of these imaginary scenarios, but the more you learn about this game, the more we look into it, the more we start to see how these systems literally are designed to breed conflict. Limited freeholds, a lot of people don't like them, but guess what? It breeds conflict, like processing being locked to that freehold, the supply and demand, you take out this node, maybe this bridge or road that was connecting this peninsula or this island. A lot of things have cause and effect consequences. So this is, like, it gets me hyped just talking about it.
Yeah. So I've played another sandbox style always on PvP game where you build up troops and you attack other people and everything. And it's not an MMO. I'm not trying to claim it's an MMO. This is way more in depth. Like Ashes of Creation is a way larger undertaking, but there was a lot of politics behind it. There was a lot of strategy behind attacking people and these sorts of things. And there was a lot of repercussions for attacking certain people. And my philosophy was to attack everybody and all the time. And that's what I enjoyed doing. And I bring this up because we're all different players. We all are going to play on different classes. We're going to have our favorite types of things. Just because I like PvP, you don't have to like PvP in the same way I do to potentially enjoy this game. Maybe you like doing more dungeons. Maybe you like to go into the artisan crafting and stuff like this, but you will have investments in one way or another. And so like what Nice was bringing up here with the religious node. Well, if we're trying to topple, like hypothetically, a lot of hypotheticals today, if we're trying to topple this big node and this religious node is providing this bonus that we want to knock out so that they don't have it, so they're easier to fight, then we're going to take that out. And you may want that religious node because it's giving you a bonus in whatever aspect of the game that you're truly enjoying. And so you're going to have these different types of investments because you're going to be like, okay, well, I got to defend this because if we lose this, then I lose this, then I lose this, then I lose this. And yeah, it's not. And in the same vein, I could go on tangents forever about this, but in the same vein, it's not. That's why this isn't like other MMOs. And so Nalanka brought this up that casual players pay for this game as well. They'll quit the game if you beat them and everything. The point of having part of this podcast is to explain that this won't be like other games to where when they release new content, you get the gear and then you farm the content and you farm the experience and then you get your no death runs, you get your trial skins, and you do this and you wait for the next thing. There's going to be so much up and down from day to day, month to month things that happen with your guild and happen in the world. Like you're going to do 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Like a lot of different things could potentially happen. And part of the progression is the fact that you're not just on a conveyor belt to the next aspect of the game. It's the fact that, yeah, sometimes you are going to lose your node and you're going to lose your progression in a freehold. Well, are you going to go and try and take that back? Or are you going to go to another one? Are you going to build up another one? Are you going to exact revenge? Does this group have other enemies that you could team up with? Like those sorts of things. And so some people, sure, they'll quit. A lot of people quit games early on when they don't get their way. But I think you can still have a fun and engaging game if it's done properly. And I think a lot of people will find a lot of replayability out of it if it's done properly.
Well said. I like that is such a I thought that would be a good one to talk about. I think that's just such like I don't think people realize. I don't think a lot of people think about that aspect of nodes. You think about the progression, the content, and the locks, but I don't see too many people talk about the content that gets locked out. You know, like we're thinking about, oh, we're gonna level this and it's gonna. I don't see a lot of people talk about what you lose, or yeah, what you lose for not having it, you know, developed in a different area or in a different way. Or so I just thought that'd be a good talk.
No, it is a good talk.
Let's catch up with chat. I want to. I see you guys talked about a lot of things. I want to get to the comments that and once again, we see you guys' comments. We see your questions. We try to get to everyone without pausing too much. And I appreciate you guys being here. We really appreciate the support, you guys. It's been fun, and I think I can speak for Els here. Like it's been fun, like kind of seeing you guys like bring up the podcast on randomly on the forums or randomly in Discord or just you guys just being here. I mean, just seeing the support. We really appreciate you guys.
And the other thing too, guys, is I brought up my background and like what I like to do because we also want to hear your guys' perspectives. That's the entire point of this podcast, is to have a conversation. It's not me up here on a podium telling you, hey, we're always PvPing and we're always PvPing all the time. Anybody that does anything else is stupid. No, it's like, what are you excited about with the game? What would get your skin in the game to defend against to defend a node or to attack a node? Like these sorts of things, because yeah, I do think this will drive content, and I'm curious if this is interesting for you or not, because it's super interesting for me.
Yes, and that's one thing that we try to make sure is always the case. Matter of fact, I'm literally just about to repeat what Elle said because I can't say it better. Like that's what we try to like convey, this open environment where we're not just saying, hey, all you guys in chat, I need y'all to be. As far as PVX goes, we're gonna focus on the PvP part. No, hell, we just had a whole conversation about keeping dungeons relevant. You know, like there's no one size fits all. Listen to us, we're always right kind of thing. It's about getting the discussion going, because like I always say, I feel like discussion is one of the few things. Discussion and debate is in theory craft, and I guess to a certain extent, is the few things that we have until we can get our hands on the game itself. So what I want to do is catch up with what comments that you guys said regarding the nodes and everything like that. And then I'd like to get into a comment that someone made. So
Sure.
Going through here, let's see. Fiddles had a great comment as well. Do you think by having nodes unlock content that there will be too much content locked out? Will we always be missing content? So I'm pretty sure it's designed to the point that you're always going to be missing out something, correct? I think that's the whole, not the whole point, but that's like part of the system, is that there's going to be opportunity costs. There's going to be missed things, and that's what keeps every server unique, and that every server is not going to develop the same. It's kind of I don't want to say it's important that it's that way, but it does give some replayability. It does allow for the options of different stories to develop. It does feed more back into that that conflict. You know what? Long story short, Steven wants us all to hate each other, kill each other, and argue all day. There we
That's
go.
his idea of fun, is us yelling and throwing sticks at each other. So
So yeah, I think that's definitely intentional. Uh, Melfi says that's what I'm looking for. Conflict of interest. Yes. Fiddle says I do really like it. I'm just worried that there will be too much locked out. Siege and nodes will be a big deal. Yeah, like in the nodes video, which I think we will be watching nodes 1 and 2 as part of our podcast for
yes.
next week. So you guys tune in to that. We're gonna revisit it. Some of the stuff might become irrelevant days later when this live stream happens, but we're gonna revisit it and have some more node discussions. But yeah, it's I think it gives a reason for PvP. I think it gives a reason for node sieges to occur if there's really specific content that players want to see. But yeah, there is something that people don't consider, and my gosh, I'm so sorry, chat. I feel myself going on another tangent. People don't realize there's the potential for a completely peaceful server. And I know that's a far cry. It's a stretch, but I think there is potential for, especially depending on how guilds work out and how people work together. There is a potential for nodes to just, once they hit that Metropolis stage, I think you have 5 total Metropolis level nodes on a server. There is potential that you will rarely see, and Steven said it's going to be a difficult task to take over like a Metropolis, but it's good. The servers, or excuse me, the first Metropolis that are built on your server, there's a potential that those will remain for like almost forever. Now, obviously, there'll still be PvP and conflict via caravans and other stuff, guild wars and whatever, castle sieges, but there is a potential that your node will never fall. And now you got to think about it instead of looking at it as, oh, am I going to be locked out this content? Am I going to be locked out this content? Maybe you got to look at it like, dang, I'm locked out of this content because there's no conflict. I want to see more, and these guys are keeping the server stagnant. So that's, it's all a matter of perspective, right?
Yeah, it's the players. The players decide. And
Oh,
if you're on a server with me, I promise you we will not be peaceful. But there will be servers that will be a lot more peaceful than others. There definitely will be, and that will happen. And if you have a lot of peaceful players that really want to keep people in line, and they're like, hey, death to all PvPers, like, yeah, you you could have that. And the player,
one rebel.
yeah, like the player, it's going to be interesting to see, because you're going to see all these different aspects, and that's the cool part is yeah, you may hop on your first server and maybe it's not for you. Maybe the political aspect of it is just not what you want, and maybe the next one you hop on, you end up playing for a year or 2 years and you just really enjoy it. I don't know. I think there's a lot that can happen there. So
Else, I need you to remain calm and professional,
okay.
because we have our first complaint about
Uh-oh.
the podcast.
Oh no.
So, just kind of gather yourself.
Okay.
So we have our first podcast complaint. Jeff here says, "Stop! This is getting me too hyped."
You know what, Jeff? I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Jeff, we appreciate your feedback. If you don't like the hype, go somewhere else, man. Okay, so we got
That's cool.
Melfi says, you are destroying several hours worth of effort. I can't wait to see an ocean of pissed people. It's gonna be great. In reference to, like, how we were talking about, like, you're literally destroying someone's home, like,
Yeah.
freeholds and what they're invested in. I like how he said that. He looks so maniacal. He's like, you are destroying several hours worth of effort. I can't. Then he's like, this is gonna be great.
No,
Oh, man.
absolutely right. Like, you're gonna, and the detail that they're putting into stuff, like we've talked about in the past, but like the freehold detail, these sorts of things, I have a feeling that the artisan trees are going to be really fun to do. I think they're going to be a lot of fun to do. It's not my thing, but if they are enjoyable, you're going to want a reason to hold on to what you're doing, and so that's going to drive that incentive for you. And so, yeah, yeah, you're gonna get some comments. There's gonna be some comments given when a node goes down. So that's for sure.
Oh man, I think it's gonna be looked at as an unforgivable action. They will never let you live down,
Yeah.
especially if you were one of the ones leading or calling for that siege. Um, let's see what else. Let's see, height Fiddle says his height meter blew up recently. He said that religious node in his way is gonna have a come to Jesus moment. Um, he said, "Wait until you see guilds dedicated to griefing. A whole guild of corrupted players. Hell, I wouldn't put it past anybody." Um, Sneaky Noah says, "Imagine all the guild leaders and mayors having a huge meeting in the middle of the map to make those big decisions. Like, all right, we're not gonna have. Oh, you know what? That's something. That'll be pretty cool. Like, hey, I know you guys worked really hard on that Metropolis, but I got together with the other four Metropolis mayors, four of the five, and we feel like, hey, I know you guys did really well, but we really don't need two military nodes on this server. So how about, you let us like knock that down? We'll take care of you. We'll send you some gold, but how about you let us knock that down? Because we really want to unlock that boss on that island, and your node is not close enough to the coast for us to go about that. These are the random Game of Thrones s kind of things and secret meetups that you can see happen.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
Fiddles made a comment, and he said he's talking about his hype beater. I was like, yeah. So, not to do too many spoilers, Fiddles, but we're gonna bring up your forum post a little bit later. There was some interesting things definitely in your forum post that got brought up that I wanted to at least talk about a little bit. And
yes.
I saw that and I was like, man, I know Fiddle stops by. I wonder if he got inspired with this post by a conversation we had because it was pretty cool.
Good evening, Skittles. Good. Welcome on in. Welcome on in. He said, "Yo, nice. Who's your barber? Looks good. Thank you so much." All right. So before we move into the next topic, I want to, and like I said before, you guys, we've read your comments. You never know which one of them like makes me and else go on our random tangents. But there was one earlier. Here it is from Jew Maraf that I seen that I thought could be an interesting talking point. He asked, if you had to put a percentage on all the different things Stephen has talked about, what percentage of them do you think will be true versus forgotten about slash never actually implemented?
Oh man.
Um, I'll make this easy on you and go first.
Yes, please.
Oh,
I don't know if I have anything.
yeah. I feel that it's, and this is one of those cop out answers. I know. I feel like it's hard to say. But I'm gonna try to answer this in the difficult way and not just say it's hard to say. But the reason I want to say it's hard to say, I feel should be said, is that we don't really have a track record with Intrepid per se, and that they're not some huge developer that we've gotten countless titles from. And
Yeah.
you've seen a developer's track record work positively and negatively for them. When I see a FromSoft game like Armored Core 6 is coming out, hey, I was a huge fan of Elden Ring. I trust those guys to release a good product, an honest product. And hey, my friend over there, he's played all the Dark Souls and Soulsborne and all that Bloodborne. He's played all those games, and he tells me that FromSoft always delivers. And from what I understand, they always delivers. Hey, I'm confident. I trust Armored Core 6. Bam. Then you got something like I'd hate to use a speak on a developer negatively in a sense, but I'm gonna pull a random. You know what? This one's not mean. Let's say Bethesda, right? Um, Bethesda. I've seen that they release good games. I believe that's gonna be a good product. But hey, Bethesda, you really messed up with Fallout 76. I
Yep.
don't know about that one. I don't trust you now. But Bethesda, you did give me Skyrim, and then another part of me goes, eh, it was pretty buggy at launch. And then so there's like, okay, maybe so I take those together and I'm like, okay, Starfield that's coming out next month. I'm like, okay, it's gonna be a good game, but I'm probably gonna wait a month or two on it. I think it's gonna have a buggy launch, you know. And so the when it comes to developers, Intrepid, we don't really have and Steven specifically, since that was the question, I don't have a reason to not trust him. Unless he starts talking about crossbows. So um I don't think we if Steven watches this back, he's like, all right, guys, one
Yeah.
more crossbow joke.
No more crossbow jokes.
And it's funny, as I said that, I read someone's comment saying Steven's gonna come on the podcast. But no, like, I have no reason to, I have no way to really speculate on a percentage of what's forgotten. If I had to do like a mathematical thing and look at the pure scope of Ashes of Creation, because every time I think I know something, I'm like, oh, by the way, there's gonna be this system. I'm like, God dang, like we have enough. You're gonna do that too? And it's like, so there's a lot of what a lot of people like to think is scope creep. Like, you can't do
Yeah.
all of this, man. You can't have this, you can't have that, you can't have all this and then have animal husbandry and then have freeholds and then have housing. And if I had to give like I'd say he delivers on minimal 90%. And I think even if Ashes of Creation was to deliver on, and this is at launch, if they were to deliver on even just 75% of what they've talked about that's ready at launch, we have a hell of a game, because there is so much promise and so many things going on with this game that I feel like if Intrepid was to even deliver on 75%, I'd be happy. I think you guys would be too.
Yeah, that was just really well said, by the way. That was really well said, and it really helped me formulate what I was going to say. You're absolutely right with development studios, because it's funny. I wish I could pull my phone up right now, but my wife actually texted me this today, and she's like, "Hey, what do you think of StarCraft?" And she asked me, and I wrote,
Oh, Starfield.
Starfield. Sorry, not StarCraft. So she's like, "What do you think of I'm pulling it up real quick, and I'll say exactly what I wrote. She said, "What do you say about Starfield?" And I go, "Bethesda game. Not a great company right now. Gonna wait and see, basically to make sure, that it's not buggy. Make sure there's not going to be any issues. Already had quite a few delays, and I said they made Fallout 76, and we bought Fallout 76 when it came out because we were very excited about that game, and we got burned by it. And so I'm not trying to get angry with Bethesda, but Bethesda gives me pause now because we bought that game and it was awful on arrival. And so it's like, yeah, I might play it, but I might wait, like you said, I might wait a month. And when the reason this applies to Steven is Steven has delivered, and Intrepid, they have not delivered a game yet. And so we can't comment on what a full game is going to be, but they have been delivering consistently month to month on their live reveals, on what they say that they're going to do. And they're not hyping us up with like an alpha 2, like, hey, next month we're going to have alpha 2, in 6 months we're going to have this. They haven't done that yet. And they haven't, basically everything that they have shown us is substance. It's not, some flashy preview of a game like showing some cinematics and everything. It's the content of what the game is. And so the fact that they're delivering on substance allows me to go, hey, yeah, I'm still locked in. I'm still staying in tune with what's going on here. And the best part about this game is you don't have to pay $60. It's a monthly subscription, so you can say, hey, it's a lot easier to go into an Intrepid studio with a company that's never delivered on a game and go, I have to invest $15 in this game. Is it going to be worth $15 to try it out for a month? And yes. The answer to that right now for me would be absolutely yes. So
yeah. That leads into what Fox just said in chat. The transparent development puts them ahead of others for sure. No surprises on launch.
Exactly.
You don't got to spend $60 like we did for Fallout to be surprised. Someone said they trust From Software with their life. From Software is the only game I pre-order.
I get it, man. Like when you get burned, it's an investment in your time, and you don't get that gaming money back. So I get it.
Yeah. Chat is carrying. We're not gonna get to our topics because right now chat's carrying me. Skittles crack in chat says, "My question: How is combat similar to and different from the combat in ESO? There are so many skills on your bar." So I would say it's not even close. I mean, that's loose, and of course I haven't had my hands on it, but just a good source is that everything we know about combat video that I did. It's essentially I would actually I don't want to say that. I do not want to use New World. um I don't think it's more of a tab target. So it's highly different from ESO. Highly different. You have more so weapon strings like New World or Guild Wars 2, but you have tab targeting. Um as far as skills on your bar, ESO is one of those games where it's one of the few MMOs where that you're limited to skills on your bar. Like if you look at like a World of Warcraft or Guild Wars 2 player, like all of those skills, like dude, I have an MMO mouse with 12 keys on it and I was still using F keys for some ultimates. Like it was that many things I had to slot. I was like, holy crap. And by the way, that's like I'm talking like four F keys, like four different ultimates. What class was that? I think it was my ranger. Anyways, um like it's really different. But you'll see like right now, actually look at the footage in the background here. You see that the tank inside of that Tower of Carfin showcase, he doesn't have a lot of abilities, right? You have the option to do less abilities and then invest in those abilities more and like actually get to that third level, that third morph, if you will. And or you can look at the mage archetype showcase where you see like close to 20 skills, which is not going to be a realistic build. Because yeah, you're going to have all those many, that many skills in your rotation, but do you really have the mana to really actually rotate those in your normal day-to-day combat? Or would you rather cut that in half and have about 12 active skills, and each of those active skills are actually leveled, they're properly augmented, right? So that's something to keep in mind, that you don't have to have like an insane skill bar, especially if you're not comfortable with one. And that's something they've talked about before. uh as of right now, we do have an active block like ESO. um there's similarities, but I don't think it's the best comparison. The easiest comparison is probably always the easy one, which is, I mean,
Guild
Guild
Wars.
Wars 2. um as far as combat goes, but even that's not like apples to apples, right?
Yeah, it's it's really important to um, explain that Alpha 2 is we're not 2 Alpha 2, and combat in this game is just not fleshed out yet. Like we don't know like we've talked about, we don't know the weapons, we don't know all the skills, we don't know augments for classes. We've only gotten 3 of the 8 archetypes so far, and so it's just yeah, I think the best explanation is what Nice said, is it's Guild Wars 2, and we're gonna know more when we get more. And yeah.
Yeah. Somebody said they have a modified controller with 20 buttons. That sounds hella convenient. My goodness. I would love one of those. um
Wow.
Speaking of controllers, little juicy fact, this game will not be on Steam. Ashes of Creation will not be on Steam. So those of you like myself that rely on Steam, I mean, there's other third-party software programs that you can download to use controllers on games that are mouse and keyboard. But if you rely on Steam to use your controller, that's not going to be a thing. Now, I don't know how that affects when you add a non-Steam game to your library and launch it that way, because that's what I do for the Elder Scrolls Online. Is I added it to my Steam library, and then so I plug in my PlayStation controller here, and I'm able to play Elder Scrolls Online with a controller. It's the only game I play with a controller. I promise, don't judge me. But yeah, so that's one thing to kind of keep in mind. Just thought that was fun to bring up. So what do we want to delve into next? We have been getting carried by chat. Oh man, never mind. I just scrolled past some things. We got a couple of options here. I'll let you choose what you want to dig at next. Actually, I wonder.
All right, I'm back.
Maybe. Okay. I was wondering what we should go into next, but hmm. You know what? We're gonna go to Reddit chat. I am so sorry. I apologize in advance. We are gonna take an adventure into our safe place, Reddit.com. Else, the one at the very top. I think Ashes of Creation has been in development for too long. Will probably disappoint when it finally comes out. So,
Okay.
I found this a week ago. Here, I'm gonna make it so that you guys can view it with me. I went literally I read the title of the article uh, of the op, and I went to the first two comments, and I was like, you know what? I want to read these live on stream. I think this will be something interesting, cause yeah. So here, let me make the background bigger so that it's a little bit easier on you guys on that little TV there. Make it a little bit better. Yeah, that's fine. All right. So we are on Reddit. I think Ashes of Creation has been in development for too long. I will probably disappoint. It will probably disappoint when it finally comes out. This is a post from NB Pseudo. He says, "What are your thoughts?" He said, I'm just going to read a couple of random comments and then we'll give our overall thoughts. So the first comment I see here, 103 upvotes. It's from Coconut Tham. He says, being in development for too long doesn't matter. The biggest flaw in their transparent development and non-NDA alpha testing is that the game will be figured out, min-maxed to hell, streamed, and suffer player burnout during the persistent alpha 2 phase that will last 1 to 2 years before launch. Anyone that didn't buy a $250 founders pack will be sitting on the sidelines and have every content creator wannabe making guides and figuring out the game before they even have the opportunity to play it. It won't have the mysterious luster and magic of a brand new MMO launch when it does finally launch. I was gonna read a couple of comments chat, but
That's a big
that
one.
one was yeah, I think we can stop right there for now. I'll go ahead and provide my thoughts here. So the original post, I think it's been in development for too long. Will probably disappoint when it comes out. I think this may just be a result of an open development process and just burnout of following the game. If you're tracking this game month to month for X amount of years, it could start to weigh on you. You start to lose faith, and you just get really disappointed that you can't get your hands on it because it's such an exciting concept of an MMORPG. And as far as this first comment that we see here, I don't think transparent development is a flaw. I am not of the mindset of that. I think I think transparent development is what the industry needs. I spoke about this in a video, but I think open development is proven to probably be the most desired by the consumer, and I think that was proven with Throne and Liberty's beta release that was so negatively received.
Yes.
I think we need to be less surprised by games. Is there no one else was just saying how him and his wife bought Fallout 76 and was just disappointed at that launch, disappointed at that whole product because, I mean, no one likes spending $60 and then just being surprised. And he also brought up the point that there's no box cost for Ashes of Creation. You can just pay your monthly subscription, pay the $15 or whatever, try it out, and boom, you're fine. Now, I have seen the subject of alpha burnout brought up a lot.
Yeah, we
It
discussed it
is
last week.
true. Yeah, we just discussed this.
Yeah.
And this kind of ties into something else I had in our group chat where it's like, did Baldur's Gate 3 get rid of that notion that early access as in this case in long alpha 2 is a bad thing for a game? I think Baldur's Gate now while not an MMO, um kind of proved that that's not something we have to worry about. Not saying it's impossible, but it kind of shows the potential there. I think the MMO player base would appreciate an open development, and we haven't seen this done. We have not seen this done to this level. These monthly showcases and saying, "Hey, this is where we're at with this product." Now, as far as people that didn't buy a $250 founders pack not having access, I mean, that's a can't really debate that. That's just going to be a fact until they open up Alpha 2 to more testers. Um, as far as people making guides, basically the point that he's trying to make here is that us with $250 Alpha 2 keys, we're gonna everyone can't have their hand on the game. Everyone's not gonna have access to Alpha 2. And so what they're saying is there's going to be so many guides for Alpha 2 and Ashes of Creation that the general public who just heard about Ashes of Creation when Alpha 2 starts getting streamed and whatnot, and like, oh, this looks so fun, I want to play it. They're not going to be able to, but they're going to consume all this content, and there's going to be so many guides online already that it's going to burn out the player base, that being the watchers and the Alpha 2 players if they play the game too long. And we've spoken about this recently on the podcast where it's like they're going to constantly be introducing new content to Alpha 2, testing new things, so that may not be an issue. But he also alludes that it will lose its mysterious luster and magic of a brand new MMO launch. I don't believe that. Else, how do you feel about all this so far?
So I get his point of view. I do understand it. I disagree with it for a few reasons. Number one, them being transparent, non-NDA alpha testing is great. The min-max to hell. Steven's already come out and said that the Alpha 2 is for testing. And so everything that exists during Alpha 2 will be subject to change. And so I think that's an often overlooked thing. It's not going to be a completed game when Alpha 2 rolls out. Narc did a really good video, I think it was a few weeks ago, talking about a game. I forget the name of it, but basically when it was released in alpha or beta or whatever it was they released the full game, and a lot of people played in the beta, but then there was nothing else for the game. And so when the game went live, the population just dropped because there was nothing else to do because everybody already did it. And so I get this perspective because it's definitely happened in other games before. I don't see it happening in Ashes because, like we've talked about, player-driven content will happen on different servers, and so you can't get burnt out on something you're not going to experience until the game goes live. Like that's not going to happen. The other thing is the game won't be fully completed. Steven, Sharif, and Intrepid have intentionally not shown us all of the different areas because they want to leave it up for people to explore. I don't remember what podcast it was. I don't remember when he said it, but I do remember he made a concerted effort in saying, we want you to experience Verra without having it, everything shown to you. And so I think they're going to try to keep, even with Alpha 2, even with beta and stuff like this, I don't think we're ever going to see endgame until the game gets released. And so I think they're going to do a good job of hiding things. I think they're going to do a good job of keeping the game. Like, you don't have to, during an Alpha 2 and beta and stuff, you don't have to show level 50 final level of weapons and skill lines and stuff. Like, you could show up to level 25 and people kind of get the point. And then you just kind of adventure on and keep things going and do private testings with NDAs for endgame stuff. And then that way you keep the player base out. On top of all of that, I'm sorry for ranting because there's just so much to talk about with this one post. Baldur's Gate proved this. Baldur's Gate was in development for 3 years, and now they're the top 10 most streamed game on a daily basis. Like they hit 867,000 people or something like that, which made them, yeah. And Sawman basically said he played the whole game during the beta. Like a lot of people were able to play the vast majority of the game because I think it was in beta development for 3 years. And so I don't think it's ruined it for anybody. I think right now, I don't think any other game is going to come out right now and beat Baldur's Gate for Game of the Year. And so I think the number one goal, make a good game. That's what you have to do. Open, transparent, especially for a new development company, is good. And also try to do what you can to keep a lot of content away from players during this testing process.
Nice. To kind of piggyback off that, one thing I want to say is that we got to remember that Ashes of Creation is getting back to that original definition of what an alpha and beta is. We've seen games do this early access thing. That's different. We've seen games say, "Oh, here's our beta." Beta to me means like, okay, this is our last like network test or just
Yeah.
iron out the kinks before launch. Like our game's done, but you know, it's just got to do a couple touches. Ashes is we've said this before. Ashes is it's doing a true alpha. Like this stuff is in development. It is truly subject to change. It will truly change based off of the player feedback. And that's something I firmly believe. No, you're not going to change the whole game, but that alpha testing, oh, you're going to be falling through walls. This merchant may, you know, sell you back too much. He may give you too much gold for your items, so you become real rich too soon.
Yeah, you find
There's gonna be
exploits.
so many. Yeah, you're gonna find exploits, and that's just something that you got to keep in mind. So I don't think I mean, the burnout. You only will get burnt out if you make yourself burnt out. BM said something here. Not sure that you can avoid the possibility of burnout. If you want the game to feel new at full release, then don't follow it before. Then following it and complaining is just silly. Yeah, especially if you're not an alpha tester, you're not really gonna be like if you're watching Ashes of Creation streams like all day, every day, but you don't have Alpha 2 access, but you're really excited. There is a chance that okay, maybe you've seen this before, so some things don't surprise you, but that really just depends on the content that you consume, and it depends on what Intrepid does as far as their Alpha 2 testing. And in theory, they're not going to show you everything. It is not all going to be available. And so I think we'll be pretty fine in that aspect. Um, and once again, Baldur's Gate 3, yeah, I think it was in early access about 3 years. And I mean, god dang, look at that. I don't think, I'm not a Baldur's Gate 3 expert at all, but I think people have a new game now than what they were playing before they went like full release. Like in the terms of like the stories and the different endings and stuff like that. I don't know if all that was already present. I could be wrong, but it seems like people they held back enough. Is what I'm trying to say is that they held back enough to the point where their launch has gone really well.
Yeah.
So
To piggyback off that one statement that you made, you can play Baldur's Gate with friends and do your own, like you can have up to 4 people playing together. And so I asked a few of my friends and I was like, hey, like, do you guys want to get together sometime and play Baldur's Gate? Because I know one of my good friends, nice, Mick. And I was like, hey man, like, should we play sometime? And he goes, nah, dude. He goes, I'm going to run through the game 3 different times first before I group up with anybody. And I'm like, bro, you're going to do 300 plus hours of gameplay. Like, so when we talk about burnout, like if you have a game that's done well, I don't think you're going to have burnout. And so that should be the goal, is just make a good game, really focus on the details and what the community wants and how to do those things. And yeah, I do see what he's saying, and I do see why this could be an issue. But even when I went back and looked at Alpha 1 testing, people were talking about how the cleric was OP, and we watched clips of people getting like 1v3s and 1v5s with the cleric, and they literally said, hey, this isn't about a balancing test. Like we're trying to find out some back end testing. Whatever's strong at the time, like is going to be adjusted before the game goes live. The advantage that Alpha 2 players will have is understanding the mechanics of the game and the calculations that go into like how combat is going to happen, but that will be accessible to probably everybody by the time the game goes live, and then content will be discovered.
Indeed. Fiddles here in chat says that's an amazing point. We're getting a monthly stream for one thing a month. They are working on everything nonstop, and we see the one thing that they want to show us for feedback.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. A lot of people don't realize that. Like, so when Alpha 2 first starts, we may be locked down to like 3 biomes or like this one section of the map, right? That doesn't mean that, oh yeah, we haven't finished that the west side of the map. You know, we only finished the Riverlands. That's why we're only showing you guys the Riverlands. They probably got full quest hubs and everything developed over there, but guess what? Maybe it's just not ready. It is not in that state for you to actually play it or see it on stream. So that's something to keep in mind.
They might lock out. They might lock out like tier 5 nodes. Like you can only go up to 3. You know?
Oh, that's something I didn't even consider. But yeah, maybe they say Metropolis just it's just not working out right now. We're still working on that on the back end. He also, Tinder says Mick is an animal, and someone else called him a mad lad for
Yeah.
3 runs of Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, he's like, I gotta
Uh,
do Rogue, Sork, and something else, and I'm like, okay, okay. And like Act One is like 50 hours of gameplay. Like it's so much gameplay. It's crazy.
insane. Simbi says that Ranger Showcase environment looks so good that it looks like a different game.
It
Dude, it
did.
does. It
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 did.
it
Yeah.
it was amazing. The lighting, the sun being, oh, it was just gorgeous. That one and the melee, the range weapon showcase and the melee weapon showcase were just gorgeous. That's why I was only that's the only reason I was critical on the day and night cycle. Because while the day and night cycle looked good compared to those two, it wasn't as good. And that's why I said at one point the graphics were inconsistent a little bit. Not bad, just like the other two were better, but that's different environments. That's probably different level of polishing. This is all stuff you got to keep in mind when it comes to open development. Christian, thank you so much for the $10 donation. He said all we need is a game with ESO combat and Fortnite multiplayer style with the floss and dance move. Oh my
Oh, sure.
gosh. Thank you so much, Christian. He, and someone said they pointed up and said, "This is my nightmare." A lot of people don't. Yeah, a lot of people don't like ESO combat. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that sentiment a lot. I've seen it a lot.
I get it.
But yeah, it's one of those things. Like, so there's someone out there that swears by World of Warcraft combat. You know, like it's different strokes for different folks. Everyone likes their style. Some people like action. Some people like tap. Some people like this. Some people hate that there's an active block in Ashes of Creation. Some people want Guild Wars 2 style block where it's just almost a RNG chance or a buff, if you will. There's everyone has their own preferences, and you'll never please everyone. But like we do on this podcast, we always try to respect each other's and not talk about you guys saying that you guys didn't, but we always try to like look at different perspectives like we were speaking on earlier and come together for a common consensus. And that's one thing that I like that we've made that environment here. We've talked about it before, but I just hate seeing, like Ellis was talking about earlier, someone on the pedestal just talking down saying, you want this and this is bad. We don't do that here. We don't do that. So yeah, if you like WoW combat, you like WoW combat. If you think ESO should be uninstalled automatically from everyone's gaming platform or whatever, I understand your issue. It's just not for everybody. Um,
There's a
what
reason
do
we're
we
all
want to
talking about
get
another
into
game
next?
too. So
Yes, exactly. That I like that. Yeah, because there's a reason we're all interested in Ashes of Creation because everything that we currently have is not exactly getting it done for us, right? So at least we can all come together and make some compromises for Ashes of Creation, right? So I think that's something that we all understand. Ashes of Creation is such a lovely vision that gamers from all over are coming and they're providing their opinions based off what they liked in previous games. And you want to see a little bit of your previous game in Ashes of Creation, maybe. And so you're like, oh, I like the way this place did combat, or I like the way this one did leveling. And it's just like, we got a different animal here, and we're all gonna provide our opinions because we've all experienced certain things, good or bad, from previous MMO. So yeah. Um, else I want to next I want to talk about we're going to get into some art and graphics talk again.
oh boy,
So I did a video which was part of it was
you
a
you
snippet from our huh.
you didn't have enough of this last week. You want to do it
Oh
again?
no. Oh no, this is a weekly thing. This is going to be
Okay.
its own segment per week.
Okay.
So I even posted a video titled "The Ashes of Creation Art Debate" and used a segment from our previous Voices of Verra podcast as well as some other insight. And I received this comment on this video. Let me pull it up so you guys can see.
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
see.
Yes. Is it?
The one from Soldier Boy.
Yes.
And Soldier Boy made sure he was gonna tell him.
Yeah.
All right. So this comment on this video I found rather interesting. It was different. Now I've had people disagree with me on Ashes of Creation. I've had everyone provides their own points, and I for one am always respectful. I understand, and it comes with content creation. But this one just started off wrong and it rubbed me the wrong way, which he's entitled to talk the way he wants to talk or whatever. So in my video, I spoke about how I like the visuals, the graphics, or the art direction of Ashes of Creation. And he said, and I quote, and it's the first two words for me, chat. Quit lying. So before I
Yeah.
even the rest of this, let's just break down that part. Whenever there's a matter of opinion, and by the way, in this video, I mentioned and reminded, I don't think I need to remind the human race about this, but art is subjective. Opinions are opinions. We're not gonna all like the same thing. I said this in the video, but he implied that I'm lying that I like the game or that it looks good or something. So, anyways, that's just the wrong way to start any debate when or conversation. But anyways, he says, "Quit lying. The game does not look phenomenal. It's rough around the edges art-wise, and it's 7 out of 10. Compared to the most beautiful games ever made, this game is horrible looking almost. Has no bearing on the game overall, but keep it real." Once again, implying that I'm not telling the truth. Has no bearing on the game overall, but keep it real. It isn't beautiful beyond comprehension. So I disagree with this comment, obviously, but he said, compared to the most beautiful games ever made, this game that is pre-alpha 2 is horrible looking almost. I, First off, one, it's pre-alpha. Two, I think it looks good. Three, what are you comparing it to? And why is your bar so high to compare it to the most beautiful games ever made? Graphically, what games come to your mind, else, when you think of the most beautiful games? Personally, I don't want to. Let's say, like, I think Last of Us had some. I don't know. What's some good single player graphic wise games that look
I really
really
liked
pretty?
Elden Ring. I really did. I thought
Elden
the
Ring,
um
uh, God of War. I didn't play those, but those look like cinematic as hell.
yeah.
Um,
I,
there's basically a bunch of single player games that I what I think is the most common thing. I can't think of too many MMOs that I look at and I'm like, wow, that is visually the most cutting edge graphics and realism. Like, and I think what he's probably doing here is comparing it to single player games or just games in general. And I just think, especially, and I think the pressure is because of Unreal Engine 5. I don't know, but if you look at some of these Unreal Engine 5 showcases, they look incredible. Does Ashes look like those? No. Could it look like those? First off, I think it looks good enough or great even, but I don't think you can really expect the graphical output or realism art-wise that you can from other games. Am I crazy to think that? Zilla, welcome on in, buddy. How you been?
Final Fantasy MMO. Zilla's here. Nice.
Final Fantasy MMO? Like, but even
Yeah, Final
then,
Fantasy
like,
looks good, but it's
it does
subjective.
look good. BM says the best graphics are normally in single player games for a reason. Exactly. I've seen games that are horrible and laggy, and they barely got crazy good graphics to load up. So
I
I don't know. I just
I got one word for you.
hmm.
Battle bit.
Battle bit.
So
Battle bit. Battle bit.
BattleBit is a game that recently came out. Sawman did a video on it. It is like stickman graphics for a shooter, and people are loving it because the performance is so good. And it's a little bit off topic from what we're talking about because like art enjoyers, art is like the fifth thing or sixth thing that matters for a game, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The most important things are combat, performance, storytelling. Like those would be my top three personally. And yeah, like if you have to sacrifice art in order to get those things, you have to sacrifice it. But with that being said, like this is still pre-alpha 2 and he's comparing pre-alpha 2 Ashes of Creation to the most beautiful games that have ever existed. The fact that you can even compare a pre-alpha 2 game to some of the most beautiful games ever should speak to where it's at, in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying it's going to get better, like the graphics will get better, but I think we can assume that they will, at least a little bit. Things will get touched up, things will get finished. Like, I think it should get better. So,
Yeah. Mel. Sorry if I keep saying your name wrong, buddy. Melforite in chat says Ashes is I think he meant to say is stunning visually, but art style wise, it's all over the place. I could see that.
I can see that.
I don't share that sentiment, but I get that, and I think if you look at a couple different things, you can say like some things may look out of place or et cetera, et cetera. I could respect that one for sure. Um, Fiddle says, yeah, it's wild from Asmongold talking about the art too, because when WoW was being launched, everyone was attacking it for its cartoon graphics, and it was only for kids. We are in the upside down.
Yeah.
Zilla says he's doing pretty good, just chilling, had an early day off work. Wondering what's going on with AOC. He hasn't had a chance to look at anything recently. Zilla, I envy you. I wish I was able to take my mind off Ashes of Creation or like get busy in life or with another game to the point where I'm just like enjoying myself and then I get an email like, "Oh, would you look at that? Alpha 2 is ready in a week." I almost forgot about that thing. Like I would love to have that but yeah, it's development still, going the same, going well. Um, oh, random thing popped in my head. So I'm a little weirdo. I had a long drive. I think a hour and a half drive for work today, chat. And I just put on a random Ashes of Creation stream. It's actually one of my favorite streams. It's I forgot the name of it. It was 11 months ago. Here, I'll try to find it in my watch later. It should be very recent, or my watch history, excuse me. The title of that stream was development update with the new map. That stream right there, I highly recommend you guys rewatch that one. It's a really good informal one. Anyways, that's when they first revealed the new world map and everything like that. But anyways, I want to say it was in that stream that I was listening to earlier that Steven was speaking on graphics. And this is something I wish I included in my recent video. He said graphics aren't everything, gameplay is, but when you don't have to sacrifice one or the other, you got something good. Like he said, gameplay is good, but I don't want to butcher what he said too much. But he said gameplay is good, but graphics really basically, long story short, he said they're important. Like they're very important to him. Like the art. Like obviously he understands that the systems are good. That's what he said. He said the systems are important, but the graphics to visualize that system is obviously important too, something to that extent. And so that kind of lets you know where his head is, that he's really like both is important to him. Like, and I think he understands this, especially younger demographic. And with the pressure of being in Unreal Engine 5, you're expected to have a certain visual standard. Um,
Yeah.
TK says, hate to be a mood killer. So, like, is this a big game they are working on or is it out? Yes, they are working on. Ashes of Creation is still in development. But yeah, it's gonna be the savior of the genre. No pressure, Intrepid.
I got a comment. I got a comment here from Giolus. Says Ashes doesn't have a distinct style that when you see it, you know exactly what it is, like WoW or Destiny. But I'm okay with that because AOC has more realistic graphics. That's a good point about distinct styles.
I like that.
I agree with that. And yeah, I think they'll find their style eventually.
Yeah. I like that. Okay. Yeah. That's definitely something that's true. It hasn't found its unique thing. Matter of fact, I want to say Asmund said something similar to that as well. And when he was reviewing the Cleric Showcase, he alluded to something similar. But yeah, and Jeff says, yeah, that's true. They still have a chance to really get that vibe going, and maybe once we're in game, we'll start seeing what their thing is. But I mean, maybe because I stare at it all day, but I gotta wonder if a casual follower of Ashes of Creation, like if you put an Ashes of Creation image next to like 5 other MMO images, like your Guild Wars 2, your WoW, or games that are at least close to it, visually wise, would you be able to identify Ash's art style? And that's a good question. That's a good topic.
Yeah, because when you look at New World, like you see the characters for New World, you know exactly that it's New World, just due to what the characters look like. So yeah, I think that was a pretty interesting point.
I like that. That's a very I hadn't thought about that, but that's definitely true. That leads me into the next thing I want to bring up.
Okay.
It's actually a Reddit post. I get on really on the same matter. I want to say it's right under the the comment that I just we were just reading. So chat, this next one is a Reddit post. We're still in our safe place. The next one is called "What Happened to the Graphics." This was one I saw on Reddit over, I think, over the weekend. So we'll take a little look at this. This is from Eastern Leadership 25, and he no, oh, it was a day ago. Anyways, he says, "What happened to the graphics?" Question. I haven't kept up with the game in a long time now. I think the last update I saw was way back in 2020 or 2021. So I'm wondering what happened to the graphics in the most recent updates. I saw Lazy Peon's latest video, and I'm thinking like, did they change the art direction to more of a RuneScape 3 approach or something? Cause it doesn't look as good as it did before. The character models and textures of the zones look kinda dated. So obviously this is just a strong opinion. Um this and I think and I actually read the comments on this one already. Everyone pretty much said already what I was gonna say. You see Talons here says that's how it looked when Peon made his 2020 video. Now compared to now, he said IDK about you, but I don't see a scenario where the game in 2020 looked better. And everyone pretty much just echoes the same sentiment. Lineker here says I recommend having your eyes checked. You might need glasses. Like, it didn't really make sense. Like how we were saying earlier, like the environment, well, I was saying earlier, the environment from one showcase may look better than the other. Someone earlier said they liked the Ranger showcase, like it looks so beautiful. There's gonna be someone that watched the Tower of Carfin stream, like, oh man, I love that, like the red hue, the graphics, everything looked so crisp, which it did. And then you're gonna have people that don't like one of those streams, right? Or they say, "Oh, it looks this and that." You can't please everyone, but because once again, art is subjective. But I think to say it looks worse in any term, any definition that you want to use is just not blasphemous, but it's just wrong. I think it's just undeniably just wrong that the game used to look better because they kept the same art style, but the graphics just got better. So maybe he just needs to watch a full showcase, or I would like to be shown Alpha Zero or Alpha One or a 2020 clip at any point where the game looked better than what we're seeing these days.
Yeah. I think this is the matter of our mind playing tricks on us. Like, you memory isn't concrete. Like, our mind has a way of changing memories over time, and it's interesting. But yeah, like, so I had my memory since I've had kids has gone just downhill. Like, I just don't sleep anymore, so I just don't remember things the way I used to.
Yeah.
But yeah, like 3 years ago, are you gonna, like, we always wax nostalgically about things that we used to remember, and like Nice, you and I, we played ESO for a while. There was a point where performance was a lot better, and it's like, man, could we go back? But if we go back, like, think about all the things that were, wrong with the game at that point in time too. And it's not shitting on the game. Like, every game has things wrong. It's like we always look back at stuff, and it's better than what it is now because you have your eye of what it was. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, 2020 graphics, I don't see how they could look better than 2023. That's when I started following the game too. So I'm not seeing it. I'm not buying it.
Mm-mm. I think I think you hit that on that nail on the head. Like, I think he has some sort of nostalgia thing, or because he hasn't checked on it in a while, just the small potential he's got it confused with another title. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think it's almost ridiculous to. I don't know. It's almost of a ridiculous take. Some places just look better.
Agreed.
That comes to mind is the snow/season changes showcase. Yeah, Zilla, precisely. When they had the vet character, like, it just looked gorgeous. It just really looked gorgeous, and I think that's why I was well, I don't want to keep saying it because then it sounds like I hated the showcase, but that's just another one of those examples of some earlier showcases actually looking better than some later ones. Depending on how depending on the zone, the lighting, or how polished that area is. Nepti says, as soon as we dive into the game, the graphics will be the last thing on our minds. Precisely. All right, we're 1 hour and 48 minutes in. Um, Else, if you want to take the lead on this next one, I think we should get into the forum post titled PvE focused player idea, in parentheses, player protection.
Okay. I'm pulling it up now. I don't think I've read this one yet. So anytime Nice and I post, like we find something, we both try to make a concerted effort to not watch what the other person posts so that we get reactions or opinions kind of raw for it. So yeah, I haven't seen this yet. I got it up here. It says there are a lot of PvE and oh wow. Okay. Okay, we're already starting with annoying some people. There are a lot of PvE Andes out there who don't like player combat. It has been established that PvP will be a core feature in Ashes. This is not the point of this topic. Okay, so we're just throwing a jab right away and moving on. I understand both perspectives. I have played on PvP servers in games like WoW and absolutely love the additional player interactions that spring up because of it. But take someone, for example, like my parents in their late 40s who also play MMORPGs. They just didn't grow up with games like that and are gimped as a result. So still, to be clear, I'm not suggesting a fundamental change to the way the game works, but what if there were in-game systems that allowed you to hire players, player protection for in-game currency? The reason I think it's important that this be an in-game thing and not a social through text sort of interaction is because I think it would grant validity to the practice and normalize it. It could be as simple as players who need gold and are good at PvP walking up to an NPC to offer services, and players who aren't, who are attempting to complete a quest or a gathering run, caravan, etc., purchasing those services at said NPC. I predict the following benefits. Larger group sizes on average, contributing to the large-scale PvP focus in the game. That's an interesting idea. Another economy-driven feature that would otherwise not exist. Less frustrated PvE players, quotes, in quotes, PvE players, if their, quote, bodyguard is successful in protecting them. And then an additional way to interact with other players, something to do if you run out of content as a PvP player. The only downsides I can see to a system like this would be the unassuredness of hired players' competence. But I see that as a risk factor that the PvE players would have to accept. What are everyone's thoughts on this? This is interesting.
It is.
Because we've talked about this. We've talked about how people holding freeholds, you know, if they're getting ganked over and over again and they have literally the richest freehold available, they might want to hire people to get the people killing them out of their area, you know? And yes. So this is just saying, hey, can we make this a legitimate thing? And that's cool. That is a cool idea. I wonder a few things. First of all, competency. This seems like too in depth to potentially do. I feel like you would almost need a lift level system to where you get like 5 stars for safely protecting people. Because if you don't have stars, like you're just gonna get any random person, right? And so this is why.
Could you imagine?
Yeah,
like,
right.
You check on someone's previous reviews and like, this guy was supposed to escort me to my freehold and he died to a wild boar.
Yeah,
will not recommend. 1 star.
Couldn't even pull his weapon out. Didn't have potions. Died instantly. And then you get the feedback from somebody else and they're like, yeah, this guy was great. He fought off 6 people by himself and teabagged all of them and temporarily is banned for a week, but he'll be back. He'd definitely recommend. And
yes,
I don't know. Like, it's an interesting idea. It would be cool to see happen because I do think that this is the type of system that would drive good engagement in the community. So, but yeah,
I like it. I like that he wants it to be like a in-place system, because there's a lot of things people want as like the game system to do. Like there was a complaint about like as far as freeholds, like, you know, charging players to use your processing station, that they're not going to have an in-game system. They want the players to do that transaction. They want them to like trade that gold and blah blah blah. This is an interesting thing. I would like to see it. I know it doesn't make much sense, but I would like to see it tied to like a bounty hunter system. It doesn't have to be, but I like this idea. I do. What I like the most is his the things he have the little dash marks here. His goals. I think he makes some good points. When you said that lift review thing, I thought that would be hilarious because we are going to have in-game reputations, and the caravan system is a good example of one of those systems where people are gonna know how many caravans you successfully defended
Yeah.
and how many you successfully attacked. And this can literally just play off of that same system logic where if you're hired for a bodyguard, how often was the person that you're protecting, how often were they, killed? How often did you fail at your duty? And if you did fail at your duty, can they leave a review like saying, well, to be fair, it was only us two and they were six people deep? Like
Yeah.
there has to be there I would love some sort of review system similar to how what we expect to see with the caravan system. I think that would be hilarious, being able to give people 1 star or review bomb them, and like it reminds me of that South Park episode where everyone was Yelpers.
Yeah.
Like I just think that's pretty hilarious. He says it an additional way to interact with other players, something to do if you run out of content as a PvP player. I'm always for meaningful PvP conflict. If it could be meaningful, it's amazing. I thought my only duty was going to be as a caravan bodyguard or attacker, but to do something like this would be really fun. We joked around about our Ashes of Creation Mafia, that how we're going to be making people pay protection money. This is another little side business we can invest in.
Yeah, and it the main reason I brought up the Lyft Uber style system is because it's true. Like let's put ourselves in the shoes, according to this guy, of a PvE Andy, right? And you really want to complete a quest. Well, if it's hypothetically 1,000 gold to get some random person, or it's 1,500 gold to get somebody that knows what they're doing, the opportunity cost there, you might want to just spend more money, right? And that way you're not getting like some random person to run with you for whatever, because they're gonna get they're gonna get the 1,000 no matter what. And if they get bodied right away, you're just like, hey, why did I bring you? Why did I pay you to just be a doormat? Like I didn't pay for this. This is a terrible service. And so that's immediately the thing that jumped in my head. I was like, dude, if you could do like a 5-star, like if you're gonna go this route, you should do a 5-star rating system on the PvPers. Like, yeah, this guy protected me. He did this. He fought off this many people. 10 out of 10. Like, yeah. And in that way, it would be hilarious, and it would be its own side thing, which would be super interesting.
I know I'm about to get too detailed or intricate with this, but like, what if that's like a guild role or guild thing that you can do? So, not saying I want to pimp you out, but let's say I run the guild, or I have an organization of like you and 5 other PvPers, and I can put you guys on the market, like sell you at a trader, essentially, like rent out your services.
We're going back to slavery. Nice. Is that what you're really trying to do?
Basically, if the guy has to pay 2,000 gold for an hour, you keep 75%, I keep 25% of it, and that makes the guild money. I mean,
That's a good idea.
I think we could have a very reputable protection racket.
Hey, I'm all for an Ashes of Creation Mafia, man. Like, let's get it done.
Let's go. Let's see.
That is a very unique idea. That's very, very unique.
We do have. Did you want to get into this one, the augment class thing?
Let me look again.
If not, we could save it for the nodes one. Like, cover that one before we get into the nodes one. Next week.
Yeah, we can look at it if you want. If you want to wait, we can wait too. I don't really.
We'll save that one, I guess. Let's see. We're about to hit 2 hours, so let's take this last 3 minutes or so to, I guess, chat with you guys. What are you guys' thoughts, especially on this system? I see people saying, Christian said, toxic escort companion kills people in tea bags for you. AOC Yelp. Yeah, personal reputation is one of those things that that it's gonna be super super important. And I gotta figure out what's. I hope my reputation isn't too bad, but to me, it sounds more fun to attack and raid a caravan. Personally, I think that's just gonna be so cool, especially if I can get like a big score. I think that thrill or that gamble is going to really entice me. And I would love to lead a small scale or a small guild that, hey, we're hunting down caravans, especially because there's no downside to it. I mean, obviously, if you die, you drop whatever you're gonna drop there. I assume
Yeah.
as a purple, but like there's no corruption tied to it. So I think that would just be swell. Like being able to be a bandit guild, I think we kind of lean towards the pirate thing as well. I think that would be that kind of gameplay, and you could do that without being toxic. I just think it'd be a cool concept. Nice is gonna be a virtual pimp, yeah. Else is gonna be my I promise you guys, else is gonna be my best I don't want to use the term, but
I know what you're saying.
Zilla says the thing that will make this different from every other game is there is only one server per character, so to speak. So you can't just change servers. Every single server is different, and your rep. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Different servers, different experience is going to be like. Think about the amount of replayability. I often think about what content wise what that does. And I don't mean, well, not even just content like from a YouTuber perspective. I just think about like I've said this before, but scanning Reddit, scanning the forums, or just some video suggested to me on YouTube where I'm 3 months into playing Ashes of Creation, right? And then I think I know everything. I've been seeing a lot of bosses. I know I'm locked out of some content, but I don't know exactly what. And then you see, you fought your fair share of dragons, but you see on this other server that there is this huge ice dragon in the mountains that you didn't even know was possible because they leveled up their divine node to metropolis level in that area, and it's just like this ice dragon that I don't know. They don't like that. That's a religious node, so they can like I don't know spit holy magic. I don't know. You guys know what I mean. But to see this huge dragon, and it's huger than any dragon that you've ever fought, but that it's unique to that server, and you're like, holy crap! I couldn't even conceive that this was a possibility. And you learn that this dragon's actually so difficult that even when they gang up with like 40 plus players in the world, like they still haven't figured out the mechanic to do it. Or better yet, we talked about this before, else, where someone brought it up on the last stream. Yeah, it was like I think a forum post. Someone made us think about this, and that what if they don't know what caused that dragon to spawn? What if they gotta sit there and play the guessing game? Like, hey, so you see an image posted on Reddit, like, hey guys, so this thing spawned, and they don't know if it's because they leveled a certain node. They don't know if
Yeah.
it's because they did this. They don't know if it's because they killed these dungeon bosses in a certain order. They don't know, and I think that's gonna be the beauty of the game.
To piggyback off that, because that's a really good point. Think about social media and going viral, and like how like things going viral does immense things for a game. Those types of things getting posted on Twitter, getting posted even on Reddit, Discord, and stuff like that is going to generate so much interest. Like I've been sharing this thing. There's a Baldur's Gate scene with a squirrel, and I'm not going to ruin it for you if you've not seen it, but it popped up, and I'm just like, I have to go find this squirrel now. Like I have to go find this squirrel in game. I have to have this interaction. Where do I go? And you're exactly right. And I think these sorts of things are going to generate interest. I think there's a reason Baldur's Gate is growing the way it's growing. It's because they're having these viral moments. So it's very interesting to me.
Yeah, and Baldur's Gate is it. What is it? I keep remembering the number 127 different endings or something like that, or different cutscenes. It's something like that. So like
170 hours, yeah.
that's like it's so many different endings and stuff like that that you're just not aware of on that one character you've played, or the two characters, the three characters, and that you just have so much endless playability. And that's something that we can expect from obviously different servers being different. So you guys think about that. Um, but I guess we'll call it here. Next Tuesday, this upcoming Tuesday, that'll be our last stream before the Nodes showcase. So what
Yes.
we're going to be doing, it may be shorter. We don't know. It depends on how much me and Else hit the pause button. But we're obviously going to have our normal format. We're going to, if any juicy forum discussions or whatever pop up or topics of interest, we're going to have that. But we're going to also watch Nodes 1 and Nodes 2 and just get some discussion going around there, some theory crafting, just talk about some things with you guys. So be sure to come and check that out. Once again, thank you guys so much for being here. Make sure you guys are subscribed to Is There No One Else? I have him linked in the title. And of course, you can always check out his portion of the stream or his POV of the stream if you want to watch it on Twitch, if that's more convenient for you. So make sure you guys follow him there as well. Once again, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for the commentary. Thank you for just sitting here chatting with us. It always feels so casual, laid back with you guys. So we appreciate you.
So Blap said do another hour. I think he's talking about for next week's stream.
Another hour? For next week's stream?
For next week's stream.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I mean, if we have, maybe, yeah, if there's enough stuff to cover. I know the week after we'll have enough to do another hour.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe we do that. I don't know. Oh, he's saying no now.
1 week. Oh, he said no right now. Oh gosh.
He's at work right now, so he's got the headphones in. It's like, no, keep talking.
Right. I had some people, a couple people say it's nice to just put on in the background, and that's what I do when whenever I do gotta drive for work. Like I like just I'll put on a random Masters of Creation live stream, even if I already watched it. Just like you never know when something you're gonna hear it differently or it procs like a certain different thing. That's actually where a couple of the questions from today's stream came up.
For sure.
Just hearing like something, and I was like, oh, you know what? That makes me think. I want to ask this question during the podcast or whatever, or I'll put on some random sports commentary or something like that. But yeah. But thank you guys so much. This episode will be available for you, obviously. And we'll probably do some videos from this stream throughout the week. And you guys make sure to check those out. Once again, thank you guys so much for being here. And we'll call it here. Peace.
Yeah, take it easy, guys. Have a good one. Appreciate the follow, by the way, Geolis. Thank you. It's a W podcast. Thank you, Blap. Appreciate it. Yeah, we'll be back streaming next week, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens and what content we have and how far we'll go. So yeah, catch you guys on Tuesday.